But we also did something different. In this family, we may have a child that able-bodied, not married, no kids, but he's sitting on the couch collecting welfare. We're going to put work requirements on that individual. So he's going to have work requirements. He's going to get a job, and it's going to make the life easier.
Damn right. Republicans admitting that, of course, is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, admitting that the top goal for the Republican Party is to put those damn kids to work. How dare they sit on the couch and collect those welfare benefits? Now, of course, he was on Fox News to discuss the debt deal that he and Joe Biden have agreed upon. Now, the real question is, will Congress pass it? And if you think that Joe Biden did a good job in negotiating this deal, you would be mistaken, because Republicans got everything they wanted, and apparently it's still not good enough. They're looking to squeeze a little more in terms of austerity. So let's give you the details on what we know so far. So this deal, as it stands today, does in fact include austerity. It includes work requirements. It even has some goodies, some surprise goodies for Senator Joe Manchin and his energy-related projects. So let's get started with what I think deserves a lot more attention, but has not been getting much attention in its coverage: the pay-go provision. What is that? Well, the bill text applies Congress's pay-as-you-go rule, which requires new spending to be offset by savings elsewhere, to executive actions. That would mean presidential actions like student loan forgiveness would require a huge offset. Do you guys understand what's happening here? So the pay-go provisions, which have already impacted Congress, essentially say, if you want to push for, let's say, an executive action or a piece of legislation, you have to cut spending elsewhere to offset the new spending for this new initiative, this new policy. It is a very convenient provision for Democrats to point to as an excuse for why they do nothing for you. The legislative filibuster, what could we do? In this case, pay-go. The pay-go provisions, what could we do? It's just a convenient excuse, and of course Biden agreed to it because he wants the convenient excuse. So that's just the beginning, tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to get to, Cenk.
Yeah, so every part of the deal helps Republicans, including the Joe Manchin part. Progressives got absolutely nothing out of it, but it's not just about progressives, Democrats, other than Joe Manchin and his dirty energy deal, literally got zero, nothing. So if you're seeing in the press, oh my God, it was a wonderful compromise. There was no compromise at all. As you'll see here, every provision got worse as the negotiations went further. The headlines were so misleading. I thought maybe Biden clawed something back from the Republicans. No, he gave them even more.
Yep.
So, and look, I said from day one that Biden wasn't gonna do anything in the next 2 years. That was super obvious. It was always obvious before they even lost the House, but after they lost the House, it was an absolute guarantee. But the media does the thing of like, oh no, you never know. Biden cares a lot about a lot of things. He's trying really hard on a lot of things. He wasn't trying anything on a single issue, right? And so, but as Anna's pointing out here, once you put in pay-go, it's over. Now it's technically, legally, nothing is ever going to get done in these next 2 years that would be part of the Democratic agenda. And Biden, the media will lie to you. And they say, oh, he did a wonderful bipartisan government. No, Biden is thrilled.
Super thrilled.
Because then he doesn't have to bother pretending to do things he was never gonna do anyway. He can just go campaign for himself, the only person he cares about.
Exactly, so think about this. In Congress, because of pay-go, because of ideological divisions, nothing ever gets done unless it has to do with major handouts to corporate power, right? Like various government grants in the form of the infrastructure bill. It all tends to benefit the corporate world. The only way that we get anything done these days is if the president, a Democratic president, passes something through executive action, and pay-go basically nixes that. But there is one caveat that I want to make sure you know about. So for instance, the text says that the White House Office of Management and Budget could waive the requirements if necessary for the delivery of essential services or necessary for effective program delivery. So it's just the executive branch's version of the parliamentarian in the Senate, right? In this case, it would be the Office of Management and Budget determining whether or not the executive action is worthy enough to do without the pay-go provision taking effect. All right, let's move on. There's a lot more to get to, including what we all kind of expected to happen, which was the cap on discretionary spending. So as Time writes, negotiators agreed to cap annual discretionary spending for 2 years, keeping non-defense spending levels flat next year and raising them by 1% in 2025. Okay, that's a fancy way of trying to say they're capping spending when it comes to any government program that benefits ordinary Americans, which is it's a cut, basically, because when you take into account inflation, it ends up being a cut, but they're gonna continue raising spending for defense specifically. That means funding for most domestic programs such as housing, education, and road safety initiatives will stay the same next year at around $936 billion. And again, by staying the same, it's really a spending cut because of inflation. So let me give you some more. The work requirements are, of course, part of this deal. So for those who rely on food stamps or SNAP benefits, which amounts to about $6 a day, they will have to prove that they are working in order to get those benefits, okay? So the deal also raises the age limit until which able-bodied, low-income adults without dependents would be required to work to receive food stamps from 50 to 54 years old. The expanded restrictions would expire in 2030. So if you are a 50-year-old and you're having difficulty getting a new job because of very clear age discrimination that obviously impacts people in their 50s, too bad, between the ages of 50 to 54, you would not be qualified for food stamps, even if you're having difficulty finding a job because of these work requirements. Yep. It's unbelievable. Except with this Democratic Party, very believable.
Okay, quick note on that. All the standard corporate Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats in the House now, said there's no way that they were gonna cut include work requirements. And we told you, no, they will definitely do it. In fact, I made a bet with Emma Vigeland for $100. I was positive that they were gonna do work requirements. Why? Because I know Biden's legislative track history and his presidential track history. He always agrees to spending cuts from Republicans, always, 100% of the time, and always gives them more than any negotiator thought was possible when we first started the negotiations. Of course they're gonna do. So okay, Hakeem Jeffries, let alone the progressives, all said that it would not stand. Looks like it's standing. So who was right and who was wrong? And is Hakeem Jeffries fighting back now? No, zero, nothing.
In fact, just a quick reminder, I believe it was last week, Hakeem Jeffries came out with a statement, all of a sudden changing his tune and saying that the work requirements are reasonable.
Oh, reasonable, all of a sudden, huh? All of a sudden get a call from the donors. Oh, remember, this is not about the debt ceiling. This is a wealth redistribution plan to take from the people who have the least and give it to people who have the most. This doesn't even necessarily reduce the deficit. The whole thing is an utter sham. There are actual facts in the world.
Right.
You know, right-wing media and mainstream media take those facts and pervert them to no end. But there are things in this here. Here, I'll give you another one. So they were the IRS funding. Now that's the one thing I gave the Democrats a ton of credit for, $80 billion over 10 years, not over 1 year, okay? So that they could increase the audits for people making over $400,000 a year. Those are unfortunately, the wealthy cheat on their taxes by far the most. So for every dollar you put into the IRS, you get $6 back in revenue. So that's what the nonpartisan governmental organizations agreed to, right? So what did they do? They weren't supposed to touch it. Then all of a sudden Biden said, okay, maybe we cut it by 10 billion out of the 80 billion. Okay, so all of a sudden we are touching it. And then the latest deal, I mean, the headlines say, amazing, partisan and Biden got an amazing deal. It's now, they cut it by 20 billion.
Yep.
It got twice as bad. Where's the amazing deal part of this? Guys, you can go back and see the earlier articles, they're all archived. First they said none of this would happen, then it was 10 billion, now it's 20 billion. There are facts in the world. Mainstream media is lying to you. This is a terrible deal.
And we've been saying from the very beginning that everything Republicans were promoting, everything Republicans were demanding would be provisions that Biden would eventually agree to, and that's exactly what happened. So for instance, when you're cutting 20 billion from the allocated 80 billion to ensure that wealthy tax dodgers are paying their fair share, what do? What does that do? That aids and abets the tax dodgers. That actually means that we're gonna lose revenue because of the tax dodgers doing what they do and dodging their taxes. Democrats were bragging about how the extra funding to the IRS to ensure the wealthy were paying their fair share and were not dodging their taxes, that would actually increase revenue by $200 billion. That's what they were saying.
Now it's gone. So now, by the way,
to some extent, yes.
And the 60 billion left, you're talking about, oh, don't worry, it just goes to bureaucracy. No, it was supposed to go to the audits, so that we stop the tax cheats and we get extra revenue in, so the deficit is not as bad. Instead, on average, I mean, finish the math on it, 20 billion times 6, according to, again, nonpartisan groups. That means they put $120 billion hole in the deficit. Wait a minute, I thought this was about deficit reduction. It ain't about deficit reduction. They cut from the poor and they give to the rich.
This is a wealth redistribution bill. Cenk mentioned that perfectly earlier today, because it redistributes wealth, I mean, what's left of wealth from the bottom to the top, right? This is a way to aid and abet the tax cheats. This is a way to continue increasing defense spending while imposing caps and austerity on any other government program that helps ordinary people. I mean, they're hyper-focused on work requirements for the needy, for people who rely on food stamps for sustenance.
$2 a meal. They're cutting it when it's just $2 a meal. They're like, that's too much for the poor, but we have to give everything to the rich. Now, hold on, we're not done yet. Let me speed through the rest of it for you guys. So again, deficit reduction, my ass. No, the military budget goes up 3%. Why? Because that goes directly to defense contractors who donate to both Republicans and Democrats. This doesn't reduce the debt. It's just to give to the rich and to the donors. And so that part is not deficit reduction. That part sucks. That's exactly what the Republicans want. Now, the one part that the Democrats got, was the Mountain Valley Pipeline. That's the one that Joe Manchin wanted, right? That Anna referred to earlier. Notice progressive priorities like paid family leave that would help you when you have a baby, higher minimum wage, higher wages for all of us, wages get pushed up. None of that is ever carried over. Once it's dead, it's permanently dead.
That's right.
But this son of a bitch, Joe Manchin, has wanted this all along, and Joe Biden broke every promise to progressives, every promise. But to Manchin, oh yes, put it in that one, put it in that one, put it in this one. This is like the 8th bill that they've put it into. And they're gonna sneak it in because it helps fossil fuel companies and donors and sons of bitch conservatives like Joe Manchin. That's who Joe Biden is. The media is 100% lying to you. More cuts, $30 billion from the COVID bill. They had already passed it. The Democrats already did a victory lap. Oh, we got your money. Oh, just kidding. $30 billion back. We got to give it to the rich. We can't have it lying around for the average American. Gone. Every part of this is a disaster. Speeds up energy projects. Does that help the deficit? It has nothing to do with the deficit. Just helps oil and gas companies. Right. Oh, look at that, the donors are helped again.
Right.
Guys, the facts are obvious.
Exactly, and just to shed more light on the energy projects, basically there used to be, well, currently, there are multiple government agencies that need to sign off on new energy related projects because they need to look into how it impacts the environment. I know, believe it or not, there is some oversight in regard to the environmental impact of some of these energy projects. Well, according to this new deal, it would cut out many of those government agencies that would oversee these projects and approve these projects and just rely on one government agency to give the green light. And I guarantee you, in every case, they will give the green light. It just makes it easier to get these energy projects, these fossil fuel projects through. And you're so right, Cenk, in that anytime there is an effort to pass legislation that would help ordinary people, once it fails, it fails. We never hear about it again. But when it comes to projects like Joe Manchin's, Mountain Valley Pipeline, it's never dead. They'll find a way, they'll find any opportunity to sneak these provisions in and get what they want. Because as long as it benefits the wealthy, as long as it benefits corporations, as long as it benefits, honestly, members of Congress who stand to profit off of it themselves, they'll get it through. They'll get it through. That's exactly what happens every single time. It's just, I don't understand what Democrats plan on campaigning on. Like, what are they? No, but seriously, like, let's have a real conversation about this, okay? Because when it comes to corporate giveaways, when it comes to aiding and abetting corporate greed, Democrats are right there with Republicans at this point. They're pro-corporate, they're pro-austerity, they're pro-screwing ordinary Americans and redistributing wealth from the bottom to the top. There's no difference at this point when it comes to the pro-corporate policies. So what are they gonna campaign on? The rhetorical stuff they engage in when it comes to cultural issues? And I say rhetorical because take a step back and really think about what they've done for the various disenfranchised communities that they purport to care about. Seriously, ask yourselves, what have Democrats done to improve these people's lives? Nothing. It's just rhetorical garbage. So I don't know, am I supposed to hang my hat on the Democratic Party because of their rhetoric?
No, you know what they're gonna run on, everybody knows it. We're not Trump.
Trump is so scary.
Yeah, we're not Trump.
But Biden has implemented many of the policies or extended many of the policies from the Trump administration.
Corporate tax rates extended.
The immigration policies.
Tax cuts for the rich extended. Immigration policies extended. We can go on and on and on and on. But look, they're gonna go to their two favorite plays. One is we're not as bad as the Republicans.
Except they kind of are.
No, because Trump tried to end democracy. So okay, that's how low the bar is for Democrats now.
So
we
pathetic.
didn't also try to end democracy, vote for us. And then they go to their second trick, which is the most effective trick by far and has worked every time until, and we don't know, it might work again, which is they just get the mainstream media to lie 24/7 on their behalf. Biden's a progressive hero, Biden is FDR 2.0, Biden has accomplished more things than any other president in human history. I mean, these insane, ludicrous lies. And but they get people to believe it because their propaganda is much more sophisticated. I gotta tell you, last two tricks here. One is on student debt. They're like, in fact, the article I read from Time Magazine says, Biden refused to retreat on his plan to cancel up to $20,000 of student debt. Refused to retreat, it makes him sound strong. So did he get anything? No, he actually gave more to the Republicans. He says, you know how we were not collecting interest on all the loans because of COVID, et cetera, on the student debt? Okay, Republicans, you win, I'm gonna give you that. We're gonna start collecting the interest again at the end of the summer, okay? Well, how about the refusal to retreat on the 20,000? No, that's irrelevant. The Supreme Court's deciding that, and they're gonna decide it pretty soon. And very likely they're gonna rule against Biden, and Biden knows that. So he now retreats on student debt and gives Republicans more, takes away from students. So later when the Supreme Court rules against him, he's gonna go, oh golly gee, I tried. Mainstream media, tell everybody how epic I am, okay? But God, there was nothing I could do. Oh, did I give away the interest rate forgiveness too? I guess I did, didn't I? Tell them how good a compromise it was. Well, what did Democrats get? Zero, zero,
They got
zero,
nothing.
zero, zero. Guys, there are facts in the world. Mainstream media, they actually write it in their articles. Like you go line by line, you cannot find one thing the Democrats got. But the headline says, amazing compromise.
Bipartisanship.
Bipartisanship, okay, last thing, last trick. So they go, I see it all over social media now, establishment Democrat like fanboys. Like, oh, well, Cenk, how could you say this was a bad deal? The Republicans are complaining about it. Yeah, no crap, Sherlock,
no.
To put it somewhat politely. Guys, this is part of the game. I've covered this for 25 years straight. Republicans demand something outrageous. The Democrats can just ignore it, like use the 14th Amendment. There's 1,000 ways to ignore it, right? Democrats choose to enter a negotiation they don't have to enter into. Then they give away more and more and more and more. And at the end, the Republicans go, not enough. Oh, this is outrageous. And they ask for one more egregious thing. And guess what the Democrats do? And now I will predict it ahead of time, as we always do, and we are almost always right. If the mainstream media is wrong, right, and we're wrong, and we're the radicals, how come we're right on the facts every single time? So I will tell you right now, the Republicans in the House will vote this down. There'll be a panic, and they'll say, oh my God, we gotta do something now. And Biden will give them more.
1,000%.
Because that's what he always does here. In fact, I'll do a fun prediction for what he'll give them. This one's like, because he can give them 1,000 different things, so this one's not guaranteed. But my guess is he'll move the IRS defunding he moved it from 0 to 10 billion to 20 billion. Now I think he'll probably move it to 40 billion and give away half of the IRS funding because they don't want to audit the rich. The one thing I gave them credit on was, it turns out, a sophisticated trick where they were just gonna pull the football later.
Yeah, and look, the GOP's tactics are enviable. They they're never satisfied. They always demand more. And Democrats, because of the fact that they're bribed by the same people, are always willing to give more. And so that's exactly how this is gonna play out. I have no doubt about it. And I'm just curious, all of the people celebrating Biden right now on Twitter or social media, have they bothered to read anything?
No.
Have they sat down? Have they had the discipline to just sit down and actually read the details of the deal?
If they have, show me one thing Democrats got out of it.
No,
That's
seriously,
a challenge.
that's such a great question. Seriously, maybe we're missing it. What did Biden and the Democrats get out of this deal?
There are facts in the world. They got nothing. Mainstream media wants to present alternative facts to you, just like Fox News does.
You know what? I apologize. There is one thing Biden got. He made a deal with the devil, specifically because he wants to focus on campaigning for re-election. So he, because of this deal, if it gets through, will not have to worry about raising the debt ceiling next year as he's campaigning.
Yeah, but that's still nothing. Because he doesn't have to worry about it by just using the 14th Amendment. And we were done with this conversation months ago.
No, you're not getting it. I know it's nothing, but it's something that Biden wants for his own purposes, for his own political aspirations, for his own narcissism.
No, you're absolutely right. And if we're framing it that way, then Biden also got a lot of things he wanted. He wanted to cut from the poor and the middle class, and he wanted to give it to the rich. That's what he's done his entire career. He also got that. He wanted an excuse to do nothing the next 2 years. He got that. He got an excuse to do nonstop campaigning. So Biden got a lot of wins. The Republicans got a lot of wins. But the American people got screwed. And who told you that? Certainly not the mainstream media. They told you Joe Scarborough was beside himself, ecstatic for how much he loves this deal. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.